Have you ever smelled victory? I have. It doesn't smell like metal or gunpowder the way people imagine. It smells like burning rubber, like meat left too long over fire, and something sickly sweet that clings to your throat long after you leave the battlefield. That was the day I learned something no briefing ever told me. Some weapons don't stop killing when the fighting ends. They stay. They follow you home. I arrived in Vietnam in 1968. I was 21 years old and still believed war had clear lines between right and wrong. We were told we were here to stop communism, to defend freedom. During quick mission briefings, officers spread maps across jeep hoods, fingers pointing at dark green patches. The jungle is the enemy, they said. If we take away their cover, we win. I didn't ask how. I only knew we had planes, bombs, and something called napalm, and another chemical with an almost harmless name, Agent Orange. We were told it only made leaves fall, just that. At night, in our makeshift camps, I wrote letters home to my mother. I told her about the heat, the mosquitoes, how much I missed her apple pie. I didn't mention the metal barrels painted orange with black stripes, lined up quietly like coffins waiting for bodies.
The first time I saw napalm used wasn't during some major battle. It was a clearing operation in a suspected guerrilla area. The sky was painfully blue. Planes roared overhead, leaving thin white trails. Then the ground ignited. Napalm doesn't explode the way bombs do. It pours. Fire sticks to everything, trees, soil, huts, and refuses to let go. I watched the jungle curl inward like a living thing being burned alive. The sound wasn't what haunted me most. It was the silence afterward, when even the birds were gone. Effective, someone muttered behind me. Hours later, when we moved in, effectiveness had a shape. Empty villages, charred rice fields, things I hadn't been trained to look at for too long. I told myself, that's war. I told myself that again and again. Agent Orange was different. No fire, no noise, just low-flying planes spraying mist like a thin, unnatural rain. We watched, thinking we were witnessing nature being shaved bare. Within weeks, the jungle turned gray. Leaves fell like dead snow. Now they've got nowhere to hide, the commander said. No one talked about the soil. No one talked about the water. No one talked about the people who lived from both.
Over time, the war began to fight back inside my head. We patrolled areas that had been sprayed. Skin itched, eyes burned. Some guys developed violent coughs. A buddy from my squad, Tommy from Ohio, broke out in rashes that wouldn't heal. The medics blamed the climate. Then we started seeing civilians. An old man standing in a field stripped bare, staring at the earth the way you stare at a grave. A woman holding a child far too light for its age. I didn't speak Vietnamese, but I understood their eyes. They asked one question: what have you done to our home? That night, I dreamed of fire that never went out. I dreamed of leaves falling forever. I began to doubt the clean, simple slogans we'd brought with us from home. The conflict wasn't just with an unseen enemy in the jungle anymore. It was between what I'd been taught and what I was witnessing. Napalm and Agent Orange were called tactical tools to flesh out the enemy, to cut supply lines. But every time they were used, it felt like we were striking something deeper than soldiers. We were striking the land itself.
My breaking point wasn't a famous battle you'll find in history books. It was a rainy morning after a chemical spraying. We were ordered to secure the perimeter. A family appeared on the dirt road. A mother, a father, 2 children. They carried no weapons, only fear. The little girl was coughing uncontrollably. Strange blotches marked her skin. The mother spoke, her voice breaking. I didn't understand her words, but I understood the plea. I looked to my officer. He motioned for them to move on, to leave the area. As they walked away, I looked down at my hands. I had touched the soil, the leaves, the lingering residue in the air. I wondered, if I stayed here, what would it do to me? Then a darker thought followed. What will it do to them after we're gone? That was the moment I understood the true cost of these weapons. Napalm left scorched earth and burned memories. Agent Orange was quieter, more patient. It seeped into soil, into water, into human bodies. It stayed long after every soldier left.
I came home in 1970. The war didn't board the plane with me, but it was waiting. Years later, I heard Tommy had developed a mysterious illness. Then came the stories of children born with deformities, Vietnamese children, and children of men like me. The name Agent Orange returned, no longer harmless. It became a delayed explanation. The purpose of Napalm and Agent Orange was clear: win faster, reduce American casualties, but the cost was never fully counted. Their damage went beyond tactics, destroyed ecosystems, poisoned land and water, genetic consequences stretching across generations. The war ended on paper, but inside bodies and memories, it never really stopped. The lesson I carry didn't come from military training. It came from a question I avoided when I was young. Is there such a thing as a clean weapon when it's used on people and their land? Napalm and Agent Orange taught me that some victories leave ashes that last longer than any enemy, and that responsibility doesn't disappear when the guns fall silent. That's when it truly begins. If you ask me now, after everything, I'll tell you this: wars may be decided in years, but their darkest weapons can last a lifetime, sometimes many lifetimes after. And that is something no soldier on any side should ever have to carry.